Hello everybody and welcome back to Space Engineers, where today we are going to be looking at tank tracks, or tanks in general, using grid-based tracks. You may have noticed or may have seen the shorts I did about a week ago, actually, probably now. Sort of teasing a tank that I built. Well, since then I've been experimenting a lot more, building a lot more stuff, also experimenting with other stuff, which I'll show you in a different video. But yeah, without further ado, let's get straight on to the video. Alright, so the first part of this video, I think, is showing the tank track evolution. Now, that was probably the biggest part of this whole thing, was making a tank track that would work. I never so much had issues with them breaking or anything like that. It's just more, how would they sit on the wheel? Like that's the big question. So we started off with really simple track, about as small and compact as you can get, nice and simple. And it was literally just hinge, 290s, blast door blocks, because they can take a pounding without getting deformed or anything like that, so they're really good for this kind of thing. Into another hinge, into two more blast door, 90 degrees, and etc, and you can see it's just constantly spiraling along, which allows every single link to be able to bend, making a good tank track. However, this was pathetic because no wheels could actually drive on it without the track just going whee and sliding straight off. So my next design was to add some little teeth. I would have thought teeth would make sense. So it's the exact same as this, but on each other rotor, I added another blast door block, but like the edge block. And that worked pretty well. I then also created this particular wheel here. So this is like a custom wheel using a rotor and a load of blocks. These are half blocks in here with the half block corners, and then this is a 3x3, so 9 blocks with some half block edges on, and then I covered this area just to make it look nice. And this is where you would attach it to the body of the vehicle, and of course that would sit in this channel and not let the track slide out. Pretty cool design, worked fairly well. I can show you a vehicle which has this particular tank track type soon enough. Okay, then moving on, I went to a bigger track, because you can see these are 3 wide. I went to a track which was still 3 wide, but I expanded them out. And the major thing here, where these are 2 blocks, the rotors are now 3 blocks apart. So each pattern is 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3, and then attached to each 90 degrees on each side is 2 blast doors going in. That's just to fill in the gaps and add a little bit more protection. You may ask, why did I decide to do this? Literally just trying out different things, seeing how that would bend differently to this one. By doing this, technically you get a longer track using less parts, like less subgrids, because it spreads over a larger area, but you know. I just was trying a different thing. And of course this, then I put some blocks on here. That's kind of the main reason actually, was to fit these blocks in each bit, to add some blocks on the edge railing. So as you can see here, it runs along. However, this was useless because the wheel I was going to use is the small grid 3x3 or 5x5. I can't actually remember what this box is called. Small grid 5x5. Yeah, that makes sense. And I'd stack 2 of them next to each other, but they're 2 wide each, and you know, 3 wide to 4 wide wouldn't work. So then I've tried a different thing, tried this, again, wouldn't work. Don't question it. It was experimental. Then I built this track, and this is quite a bit different. It's actually, if anything, it's very similar to this second track I made. It's just wider by a block on each side. Literally, that is the only difference. So, where can we start? So we got, it's kind of a mixture of both of them too, I guess, because it's still the 3 wide, but it's snakes across, and on the block of the rotor we've got a tooth. This allows it to bend a little bit, and yeah, makes some kind of sense. But it wasn't perfect because it was sort of locked to one position and it wouldn't free float. So what did I do? I decided to double rotor each individual thing, so each one of these teeth can move individually. Yeah, so much for like halving the amount of rotor I'm going to use on these. But you know, I didn't, and this actually happened to be the best track I'd ever built. And that's pretty much the evolution of a track. You can see basically it went from simple to bigger. And one thing I actually did with this one, I added some of the not pipes, but the interior round blocks, like the pillar blocks. I also added some of the letters to the outside. Not for any particular reason other than it kind of looks cool, adds a bit more detail, and technically, if someone was to shoot this with like a light machine gun and it hits one of these blocks, it would do damage to the block instead of doing damage to the Velocity, so it increases its health by a micro fraction. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Okay, so that's the tracks, and next I'm gonna sort of go again back in time, but showing you the process of trying to design the actual wheels that does sit on. So as you can see, this is the second one, which has the custom wheel, and I put it on either side of this with a piston so I could extend it out to tension the belt or tension the track. I then also had a great idea to use wheel suspension and offset them by a block, because in my mind that would mean you would have a gap in between them, and yeah, that didn't work. So I did a load of tweaking, tried out a load of stuff, and came up with this behemoth. Again, you can see now it has a gap block between it. However, these still don't line up in the slightest, because the wheels, these wheels don't line up because it's stupid. I tried to use the actual suspension, as you can see, I tried it on the top, but the wheel sticks out only half a block and in half a block, so it's kind of pushing this whole thing in, and then tries to pull itself off, and it's just a nightmare. On the bottom of them I used rotors with fully extended, and that actually works a lot better, but still not ideal. And this is just a solid, actually no, this was one I actually experimented, sorry. This is one I experimented using a rotor at the bottom, so we had two, basically they're called bogies, and they just sort of like pivot, so this side can go up and down whilst this side does the opposite, so it's like a bit of a seesaw, that kind of idea. And once I got the tracks on, I attached them here so I could move them about without the tracks just falling off. You will have seen this particular one. This was actually the first track, and that's one thing I never actually mentioned. So the first track, it never had any kind of teeth in the middle. So the only way I could think of holding the track on was having little like stars sticking out. You can see the track would be stuck within the wheels. I added some small grid wheels on some rotors just to make it, make sense, and I attached it, and lo and behold, it worked. Wow. Not the best, but it did technically work. Also, this has a battery on it. That's probably not safe, but it worked. Over here you can see some of the testing I did. So these are the wheels I was using on this bit, and the testing I was doing, as you can see, it don't fit in the gap. Not in the slightest does it fit in the gap. This is actually a modified version of the truck I have over here. So that I had blocks on here, so I had blocks like on the one you saw. So what did I do? I expanded out by a block, and sort of made it half block. So technically this is 4 blocks wide. However, the wheel is slightly bigger than 4 blocks wide, even though it is 4 blocks wide. But if you look very carefully, actually, yeah, I can't remember why this didn't. It just didn't work. The hitbox was just really, really wonky. And that upset me. I even added pistons because I thought that was going to work and be cool. Moving along here, as you can see, this is the advanced tracks. You can see it runs along. And now was just making sure that I could use a small wheel and get it to all fit in, and I don't need that there. And yeah, it would work. So this is using the just one type, and it was alright. Actually, you know what? Oh, we'll go over here. I can show you what I was meaning. So you can see on the last design of the tracks, I had double rotors on each one of these. And as for this particular issue, as you can see, all of these are sort of offset, where you would imagine you want it to hang down, and the only way you could do that was having 2 soft bearings on either side and having the middle one be a separate grid. It was a pain, but you know, it works. The whole reason I actually did with this was to see if I had enough bending capability in it, because as you can see, I replaced some of these blocks. See if it would actually bend and fit in the wheel. It did, and turned out not to be an issue in the slightest, so yeah, I didn't really continue on with that anymore. Now, I'm not going to show you in this particular video, because I suppose it can be a video on its own, how I actually built these not built the tracks, how I assembled them onto the actual tank chassis wheel mechanism things. Because it's quite time consuming, but it does involve this thing over here. That's all I'm going to say. And here I have 2 iterations of basically the same track. This one uses, so we've got the big wheels with the small wheel in the middle, surrounded by the double rotored tracks. It's the same on both of these. This one uses 3 bogies. So these can rock up and down in each one of them. And this one uses just the same large wheels, but they're attached using rotors. As you can see, no sort of suspension wiggling, just a solid axle. Because why not? And as you can see, these have also been tensioned. So they are loose. We tension it with a piston. I get it to the closest block where this would line up with the grid, and I put 2 merged blocks and it snaps it to the grid, and so I can technically destroy these pistons. That's mainly just to make building a bit easier. You could technically leave them, but I don't, because I like it to be a solid structure rather than be possibly clanged out with pistons. So as you can see, this is a complete one where I moved the actual pistons and reinforced it a bit. Alright, so from moving on to that, of course you need to double up on the other side, like this. And then you've got tank tracks. So we got the 2 iterations here. We have the small wheel boyo here. And this, I have a design where it runs down and sits in this track. You'll see these tanks further on in the future. And you have this one, which is suspended up in the air using the exact same small wheels, tracks. And then over here I have the big versions, and I didn't make a sloped down version of this one. I just left as the high end. But yeah, I was going to paint these tracks orange, and then realized to paint this track orange you require painting every single little element, and it would take absolutely ages, especially if I'd missed like that. Yeah, it would take too long, so I didn't bother. It wasn't really gonna change the overall look of it. Let's move directly onto the tank tracks themselves. Right, so as you can see, the two finished, well, not finished, but yeah, actually, these are finished hulls. So of course you would build a structure on top of this, most likely a tank or an armored vehicle or whatever you actually want to build. For all I know, you want to make a turtle. Tank tracks, I don't know. Could be an excavator. It's up to you. Just do whatever you want. Yeah, it's your imagination. I'm not gonna question it. Yeah, just do what you like. I'm not gonna judge. No judging going on here. Absolutely none. Anyway, that's enough of that. Alright, so it's sat in the cockpit. I have two sets of controls. I have 1 and 2, which are the tracks on and off. And then I have 4 and 5, which is reversing each one of the tracks. So I'm going to press 4 and 5, and I'm going to press 1 and 2. And as you can see, it drives forward. Now I also added this little blocky lump to just show off the suspension, because I like watching suspension in this game. It's very satisfying indeed. Oh yes, look at it go. Beautiful little suspension-y track. Oh, so beautiful. So beautiful indeed. Anyway, so now you could, whilst driving, whilst you have them on, you can use 4 to steer the other way. And of course with tank steering, the advantage you can turn on the spot. Yes, my tank track can do this with no issue. I don't have damage technically on in this world, but I have done rigorous testing with the damage on in this world, and these tracks have 0 issue whatsoever. The main problem I have with these tracks is actually getting enough friction to make them drive properly. Yeah, if I wanted to go to because these wheels are on the rotors, you can't like change the friction of the blocks, and yeah, technically it's not a cogwheel, it's not being locked. Also, I'm gonna go dizzy if I keep this spinning. Anyway, I guess we're driving this way, I don't know. But yeah, so it's just really cool in this game how it works. Tank tracks in this game have become one of my most satisfying things, and I love messing around with them. Right. So then I've got, yeah, this tank. So this uses the solid axle. You can see. I'm just gonna turn it a little bit. Perfect. Oh, too far. Perfect. It's a little bit harder to drive, but... And as you can see, it still drives over it, but it's not quite as elegant as the one with a little bit of suspension, but it doesn't really make that much difference. And yeah, it's just really flipping cool. Like, if I place a block like that, it's just gonna go... Just gonna drive over it. Like, the tanks don't care in the slightest. Now, one thing I've never done is tried and done like a higher vertical climbing kind of little challenge on them, but I think I'm gonna try that. Let's place some blocks like this. And as always, whilst I'm building this, I might as well say, if you do find these videos that I do inspiring, consider hitting the like button and maybe subscribing to the channel if you really do enjoy the things I do. So close to 1,000 subs, and if you can get me there, that would mean the world to me, literally. I never thought I would get anywhere near 1,000 subs, and for the pure fact I've done that in a really short amount of time, in all honesty. Yeah, I'm really pleased. Really pleased. So, I think it would be safe to say no normal vehicle would be able to drive up that type of... Hello? 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 Well, I'm a wheel. I have turned into a wheel. Perfect. Yeah, no vehicle... I'm sorry. No normal vehicle would be able to drive up to something like that. Also, yeah, all right. But let's see what this thing can do. Now, I don't know if this thing can drive up it. No, it's got fairly good grip, but I don't know if it has this amazing type of grip. Oh, it's gonna flip. Alright then. Not quite. Close, but not quite. Maybe if I chop literally just this bit off. I think I'll be able to do that. Wait, what? What? Excuse me? Perfect. Yeah, I should be able to drive this up over this. Yep. As long as I think it gets the mass. Come on. Oh, it hasn't got enough front weight. Maybe that's something I also need to design when I'm building these tanks, is having enough front weight to pull the whole thing over. It does technically drive up it though. You can see it does it without literally any issue whatsoever. Also, I have a storm and it starts annoying me in the background. Covered. So yeah, these are the two tanks I've come up with. I do also have a load of iterations of this. So we have the you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna drive this one. The one sad thing about this one is I haven't set up the individual steering, so I just have one rotor to toggle it all on, and so it just sort of goes wherever it wants to go and drives straight into another tank apparently. Cool. And yeah, that's pretty much everything. Of course you can get derailed by these vehicles. Like it's not technically invincible, so you know what, let's get one of these. Last thing I want to show. Oh, whilst I get this tank set up, I also, if you're still watching at this point, and you don't know, I do have a survival world that you can join. It's completely free for you to join. Where you can join the server where you can join a server is by joining my Discord. All the information is in one of the pages down there. If you have any issues, you can always send me a message either in the YouTube comment section or directly on the Discord channel itself. I'm pretty much always active talking to people if they need any help, so yeah, no worries at all. If you have any issues, feel free to let me know and I'll see what I can do to get it sorted. Yeah. Alright, so let's say you are roaming the streets with your rocket launcher. You see a tank approach you. Well, of course, like any tank in real life, if you shoot a track and it explodes it's pretty much out of commission. Like it's pretty cool. It actually fully detracts the tank, and yeah, you can see. The only thing about this game is it can drive, because yeah. These wheels can also spin, but shh, you don't even know about that. Just fun to shoot them. If I shoot like the middle bit. Oh yeah, look, it's just gone. It's stopped. That's it. It's done. Got no power. Actually, you know what? I only have a top one of the drive wheels. These do nothing. Ha! Told you. Looking how to take down out a tank, ready for moving. Perfect. Anyway, that's literally all I've got to show you for today. And if you are interested, I can, of course, like I say, do more into this subject. If you find it interesting, of course, leave a like. Let me know you want me to do more by putting a message in a comment. If you have any other ideas, always post them down in the links down below. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, everyone. My name is being Quantum Chief. See you all in the next video. Bye.